Sundar Shaw. She joins us as well. Kiran, you're listening to what the AIADMK spokesperson, Mr. K. Pandya-Rajan, has to say here on CNBC TV 18. This is the first reaction coming in from the AIADMK. Very quickly, the numbers will still work in favor of the government. So the Rajya Sabha arithmetic still in favor of the government, but respond to some of the concerns raised there by Mr. Pandya-Rajan, some similar concerns being raised by other state governments as well.
Well, I think, the exemption list, so to speak, which is really about the petroleum products and alcohol, is something that all state governments have lobbied for. And I'm not too sure what the consensus is, but I would have imagined that this, this lengthy debate that we've had on GST should have addressed some of his concerns. Having said that, I think you need to, build a general national consensus on the broad guiding principles of what you're trying to achieve from GST. And to me, the broad guiding principles are creating this common market, rationalization of the state and central taxes, and the most important thing is about the ability to assess in an easy way, and more importantly, to basically get maximum compliance. There has also been a lot of debate on the percentage, whether it should be capped at 18%, whether you should have a band of between 18 to 20% or 16 to 19% or whatever it is. But I think, we need to start somewhere. After all, you are, coming in with a big bang tax reform, and nothing is going to be perfect. I think you have to start at a reasonable level. I don't think it should be as a constitutional amendment. I don't want to see the cap as a part of the constitutional amendment. You need to have it in the rules, and which you can tweak over time as you want to achieve that revenue neutrality.
You're absolutely right, and it is not part of the constitutional amendment bill. It will be dealt with later in the GST bill itself. But Kiran, we were talking about India Inc.'s readiness or preparedness to deal with the GST now, and there are concerns being raised there. In your experience and personally at what you've been able to do at Biocon, how confident do you feel about India Inc.'s readiness?
Well, I'm given to understand that, the IT backbone is fairly ready. Now, if that is the case, then I think it will be easier for India Inc. to adopt GST. But, as they say, the devil is in the detail, and I think implementation is going to be very key to rolling out GST in time. And if indeed the IT backbone is in a state of readiness, then I feel more confident. But if it isn't, then I fear that we are going to have a long, arduous journey of actually making sure that we roll out GST in an optimal way. So, that is really what it's all about. I mean, India Inc. is ready to embrace GST and adopt GST and, have this online self-regulatory way of, providing that assessment for taxation. But I really need to see how ready this IT backbone is, because everything depends on that.
Since we're talking about the IT backbone, we had Nanda Nilekani on the channel, and he was talking about his experience with two finance ministers and heads of two empowered committees on the GST. Of course, he was the man responsible for putting together the GST network as well. And we had the finance minister today also talking about the readiness from a technology perspective, and he did seem to suggest that we would be ready as and when there is that April 1, 2017 deadline, but he, of course, did not commit to that timeline. Very quickly, Kiran, because the sort of work in progress or the actual negotiations, the clarifications on the model law and so on and so forth will start only now, and the government has of course been seeking stakeholder feedback as well. Any pain points, any areas of concern that you would like the government to address?
Well, I think, if I look at our own sector, the pharma sector, I think, we need to really look at, how we are going to look at the whole supply chain and see how much tax rationalization there can be. But you know, there is a very sort of contentious issue of drug price control versus the taxes that we are being levied all across the chain. So I'd like to see how that complexity works out. But otherwise, I just think that I want to wait and see when this GST is going to be announced, what the whole IT backbone looks like. We're all sort of second guessing what it's going to be all about. So I think, we need to wait and see what it's all about.
Well, there is some amount of second guessing that is on, and of course, to start with on the rate. But Kiran, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. That's